Happy Easter, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Motivational Sundays with Kevin and Friends. This show was originally created to take one of or more than 300 motivational quotes that I created for the contents of my books. With over 40 years of studying human behavior, I was always curious and wondered how the same quote landed with one person. Were there words that just landed on a page, or were there a conversation to be had? We meet every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I, excuse me, my name is Kevin McLemore. I am your co-host, and I'm joined with my co-host. I have a lot of them today. I have Floria, I have Denise, Danny, the voice of our show, Mr. Otis Spencer. I have the two lovebirds, Gilda and Christopher. And believe it or not, all right, when you talk about Thunder and Lightning, we're bringing Larnez and Dwayne to the show. So, this space was designed not to make you comfortable, but to encourage you, to inspire you, to educate you, create a model of a framework that makes you think. And believe it or not, when we hear Flo's quote, interpretation of the quote, I'm going to tell you, she is a word mindsmith. She is going to make you think. So, without any further delay, I'm going to turn this over to the voice of our show, and he's going to deliver the quote of the day. Otis, go ahead and bring it, brother.
Happy Easter, everyone. When you have questions and get no answers, remember we teach people to be close to us. We also teach them distance.
All right, all right. This was one of the quotes that I had written for one of my books, and I brought it up. And normally, that whoever brings the quote for the day shows up first. But I'm going to go ahead and exercise my right, from as Larnez was said, to go ahead and bring up the rear. So we're going to open up the show with one of our young souls on here. I mean, I'm telling you, she's only young in years, but wise way beyond her years herself. So, Miss D Chambers, how does this quote land on you?
Oh, good day. Didn't expect to go first today, but that's okay. This quote actually led me to a very deep reflection because I I'm always a person that is going back trying to fix things. And like if like something goes wrong between me and somebody, I'm always just like, peace first, like how do we resolve this? Um, and it actually was relevant to my life literally yesterday because I experienced something where I felt like my friend did not show up for me the way I needed them to, and it caused like a friction. So with that friction, what it led to was that normally I would have stuck around and tried to be agreeable and try to be okay because, I caused friction and I caused tension. But I'm gonna use the term I stood on business and I was like, listen, I'm gonna go because I don't feel like my presence is welcome here right now and I don't feel supported. So this quote actually, I felt like it outlined that experience where it's like you teach people how to treat you. You teach people what they're allowed to do to you, and you teach people what you'll do when they take those actions against you and or for you. It's like I don't want to just focus on the negative of it because there's been a lot of like beautiful relationships that have developed out of just me being myself. But a point where this quote kind of led me to think about is um, why is it that I try to overextend and try to fix things or try to always um, be, you know, value these things over, sometimes self-respect? Why is it that I'm allowing myself to feel like a martyr for these things when this other people, when they're affected by these things, they're not jumping to fix it. It's not like I think like part of it comes from this idea that we should always not go to sleep upset. But I also just don't believe that's always you're able to do that. It's just I think there needs to be better like ways that we communicate and better ways that we try to work through things when we have our friendships and our families and different things. We have to have like different ways that we communicate and give each other the time we need. But I think one, this made me reflect a lot on just like my mentality towards these things and like what is it that I'm really allowing into my life? And then two, how is it that I want to kind of move forward? So it's like this actually to close out kind of landed also where people that like know me and are very close to me, they know if I don't respond to text messages, it's like 7 to 10 business days, sometimes longer, depending on like the season we're in. So it just made me think about like how when people that matter to me, I always tell them, listen, I'm better if you need me urgently, call me. Text message is subject to just not get responded to. And I set my boundary on that and I've like stood on that ever since I was a teenager. And it doesn't make anyone like no one gets to control that part from me because that's how I choose to interact with it. So I think this led me to realize, although I'm being a little bit hard on myself and saying I have all these like things to change, I think there's core parts of me that understand like, hey, you have been teaching people how to treat you. You just have to really kind of put everything more into motion about where you're going, what you're trying to achieve, and like what my needs are. What is the things that is going to make me propel to the next level? And I think like if I start to kind of position myself more first, like becoming a life coach and everything kind of led me to that because I had to do all the work for myself, but it's still kind of like that work continues to deepen over the years. So I feel like it's just another level of that. So I appreciate the quote, Kevin. Thank you so much.
No, I appreciate your interpretation, and you peel back many layers of the interpretation of that quote, and I respect your perspectives. People, we don't realize even in with technology, some texts we get and we welcome, we respond, immediately. Other texts we kind of sit back and go, let me think about what I'm going to say, and a lot of times it's because of texts don't come across as emotional as a regular conversation. So, for you to be so young and rather talk than text, that's a big hooray on my part for you. But people, you've got to listen when you take this quote and apply it to yourself and ask yourself, you know, who have I taught to be distant from me? If you're always confrontational, always negative or whatever, and that person doesn't seem to call you on your birthday or whatever the case may be, that could be how you taught them to be. So, it's amazing when you are in a relationship with someone and your spouse stops communicating with you or responds with you or understands that how they may respond to you may be a trigger. But, I don't know the answer to that. So I'm going to ask someone much wiser. I'm going to go to Christopher before we talk to Gilda about this and how does this quote land on him. Did I set that up well?
You set that up real good. Oh, wow. Yeah, thanks, Kevin, and greetings, everyone. Um, you know, the questioning with no answer and the teaching portion sort of made me reflect on something else I don't often think about, but I know I've spoken on it on a few different occasions, not so much here, but professionally. I wore a different hat when I was in the service. You tend to get that drill sergeant mentality, no matter where you actually are rank wise in the service. You tend to have that drill sergeant mentality where you will speak and you aren't expecting an answer. You'll remember the first time I ever used the term hypothetical. It had nothing to do with the question, but the idea was um, I'd stated something and I got a response and I wasn't expecting one. But anyway, the teaching portion of that was that people that addressed me or that knew me had a certain understanding that what I say is for the moment, is for the instant, and we don't need reflection on it. And the last thing I need is your interpretation of it or an answer. So the idea was it was brutally military. Now, it became odd and weird when I left the service and got into well, I actually went through 3 different professions once I left the service, but in each, there was a lot of communication, both with colleagues, coworkers, and clients, where understanding of where I was or who I was important, and it contrasted so drastically from the military persona that I had. It took me a minute to recognize it. I mean, like, remember the first time I actually said something and got a reaction from the people that I spoke with that was totally uh, alien to me. Uh, it may have even involved a hug, which really freaked me out. But the whole thing is, I had to recognize that for the longest time, the better part of my life, I'd been in a position where I would spout off all sorts of things, questions included, didn't expect answers. And when those answers came, they were, kind of weird and alien. And I realized it's because nobody expected, well, that persona of me, nobody expected any kind of closeness, no type of feedback, no type of relation, just that barking, you know, police dog that I was in the service. Um, but in real life, there are differences. It was a striking contrast when I looked back at that military guy. It was kind of weird. Now I can't say or predict or even forewarn anyone ever having to work with a veteran or someone who once was in that position. But there is a transition that they will have to go through to where they're more open and more humanistic in their responses to people and the reactions to people. And you may get some queer looks from these people as they recognize that, okay, I'm in a new role now. I'm expected to be human, and it's going to be different or a little difficult for me because I'm not used to doing that. I was always closed off, and now you expect me to be open. So bear with them. Understand that they're coming from a whole different genre. They've learned new things. They're trying new things now, and it can be difficult. When I first saw this quote, I said, "Oh my God, yeah, I can expect situations like that where I'll state something and not expect an answer, and not even want an answer." But when I read further, uh, you do sort of make up that persona as you deal with people, and they will reflect that learning, that teaching, whatever, as you teach them with everything that they do. And sometimes it can be weird, sometimes it can be what we used to call mushy in the service, but nonetheless, it's extremely human, and you'll have to find a way to adjust to it. I did over the years, but yeah, that's how that. And like I said, Kevin, that was the weirdest quote I've seen so far. You went to the odd bag for that one, man. That wasn't straight up, man. That was what? What's he talking about? But yeah,
Well, well, believe it or not, coming from a military background, I was watching uh, a series called The Unit,
yes,
and
yes.
there's 4 individuals, and they are their commander in chief. They went out for a social outing, and he announced to his um, troop that they can address him tonight as Paul.
Yeah.
And the response was, how long do we have to address you as Paul? He goes, until the sun comes up. And so, when you talk about we teach people how to be close to us, you think about your military background. How close were you to your commanding officers? And what did they teach you in times of peril? Um, were you able to talk openly with them? Were you able to talk candidly with them? Or you were able to talk with them and not be talked at? So, and that's the same thing with our personal relationships and our other professional relationships in life itself. We have a different conversation with our 16-year-old than we do with our 16-year-old that is now 22 years old. I mean, I know I had to adjust from um, being a father to my son than being a father to the man, to the son that's now my man, another man. So, but the big thing in here is that every quote is all about words, and we're going to find out just how one word lands on another person. And I know someone's going to break this down. And Florio, being the wordsmith that you are, all right, you talking about going on a 747 luxury plane, sitting in first class between her and Larnez. The seats are full. All right. So, Flo, how does this quote land on you?
Gosh, I haven't lived up to that. Here we go. You said the whole podcast started because of, human behavior and the dynamics of it. Well, I think this quote embodies it because it is all about relationships, which is at the core, right, of all human dynamics. So the metaphor, because I'm very visual and I'm a facilitator and entrepreneur, the clear metaphor that came to me was a dance. And literally, when you see two people dancing, you can tell their closeness and their distance just from their physical proximity. So I just saw this a beautiful dance, and that even in a normal dance on a dance floor, we show people how to follow us, and then they lead, and then we lead. Right? So you want to follow in someone's footsteps, not their missteps. Unanswered questions are kind of missteps, but we learn. So that dance, when it goes smoothly, is because each person is taking the cue from the other. And when you step on someone's toes, that's the time to say, oh, right, what did I do wrong? Or what can I do differently? Or how can I adjust to your type? Because of the words, I have to tell you, the irony is thick, because some people think that when they get close to someone, whether in a dance physically, right, it gets a little more uncomfortable, or in a relationship emotionally, when they get close, some people think they're going to lose something. And that's actually in the word close, right? See, I lose, CLOSE. So a lot of people think that when they get close, they're going to lose, and by distance, they're going to gain. And there's an irony embedded in human dynamics, if you will. And a few other last things on the words. It's when we show people distance by our words and our cues, it's kind of the stance we take. And that could be the stance in a dance, or that could be the stance in a conversation or discussion. And that is also in the word distance. So I think just the closeness and the distance and the smoothness of the dance and how we move through life and relationships is really all about learning from the visual, emotional, and spiritual cues so that we can have a smooth, elegant dance throughout life.
Good.
Ooh. And that was, I'm going to tell you, when I put this quote out there to the group, I looked at every single word, and I looked at it and I said two things. All right, I can't wait to hear what Larnez is going to say. And then the other thing is, I said, I'm wondering which one of the words that Flo's going to take and make me think. And that's one of the things about education. It's not designed to make you comfortable. It's designed to make you think. And these words, even I never knew until till now, that if you drop the C from close, you lose. Did not know that. So I'm going to start looking at words a little different. I am so glad that I'm blessed with all of you. I am so glad that the word wordsmith applies to you, Flo. I am nice. And believe it or not, every single Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I get together with all my friends, and guess what we do? We dance. We dance, and hopefully I'm bringing you all close to me and not creating any distance between us, because coming all the way from Kentucky, I'm going to need my Mr. DM, not standing for anything on Instagram, but Dwayne Morton, about to launch his podcast and a couple of million people. I'm curious to hear what he's got to say. But before we get your share, D, I got to turn this back over to the voice, because I know some people just woke up on Easter morning and they don't realize that even God applies to this quote. All right? Reach one, teach one. That's all I'm saying. Otis.
When you have a question and get no answers, remember, we teach people to be close to us, also teach them distance.
All right, DM.
Yeah, so I'm a law of attraction type person. I'm also a person, I don't believe in staying in a victim mentality. I believe that in life, we're supposed to learn lessons to get us out of that. So through that, I believe we attract what we're able to tolerate.
Okay.
And through that toleration is really what we attract. And so when we're in our low point, we're attracting catfish, like the frequency, the people who the energy suckers, right? But then when we meet great people like the people in this room, then we're actually up here and we're attracting those type of fish. And so those fish, you still have those catfish that come into your life and they try to suck you down to their level. But then you have other people that will pull you up. So for this, it's all about boundaries and knowing what you want in your life and what you're able to, what you want to tolerate. And so there's going to be times that you're going to find someone who is going to be that negative part of your toleration of just some type of experience. Experiences and beliefs are truly just lies. It's just something that we have some type of evidence inside of us that allows us to say, oh, I know that to be true. But truth is really subjective when you look at, human interaction. And so for me, this quote was all about setting boundaries. And especially with what I have been through, I've seen the lowest of the low, I've seen the highest of the high. It's which one that I decide and I choose, because everything's a decision when it comes to human interaction. But if you stay in that victim mentality, the victim mentality is where you're like, I can't believe this person, is treating me like this.
Mhm.
They're treating you like this because they learned something from you that said that you were able to, you would tolerate it. So I just believe in that energy factor that a lot of people miss. And so when I have friends that want to stay in the victim mentality, I try to keep my arm length away. And I know that a lot of their experiences is probably not what I want. And so, I think through life has taught me some different things. And this is just, these are in the last 2 years I've learned these type of things, like, and really, really like applied them to my life. And so when we really set boundaries and we really dig into those boundaries, it's amazing how the people that we were close with, we find that they were the catfish. They weren't the people that we were supposed to stay for a long time. I believe in seasons. So I might be friends with someone for one season. I might be friends with a few seasons. And then there's people that I'm here friends with for a lifetime. I think that's where the quote really hit me, was just being 48 years old and learning that like the people that I used to hang out at 21 and 16 probably aren't people I want to hang out with at 48. And probably my higher self, when I'm like 60, 65, I'll probably have people that I didn't want to, that I won't want to hang out with that I met when I was 48. So that's where the quote landed on me, was just those boundaries. We set those, and we can either apply them or we can allow other people to get through them. And when you start looking at things from that type of level, that's when you really get to grow and really mature your relationships.
Wow. And another great interpretation or perspective on a quote that may leave some people kind of scratching the head a little bit. That's the difference between what's taught and what's caught. That was so delivered, DM. All right, you can put that on your Instagram, whatever. That was powerful. But our silent assassin. Well, I shouldn't say that on Sunday, but I'm going to go ahead and go over to Gilda, because she is a person that she speaks very softly, says very few words. But I'm going to tell you, when Gilda speaks, pick a coliseum. She can fill every seat with what her interpretation. Gilda, how does this quote land on you?
Grand Rising, like Chris said, it was very difficult. So what I think I can say is lack of answers can hinder decision, making understanding and process in life. Progress in life. I'm sorry, progress in life. No, so that's about what I can come up with the quote itself.
All right. Like Gilda said, Denise, like she said, Larnez, that's probably the most words you've spoken out of the hundreds and something odd episodes we've had on here. Prepared. I love you guys. And I'm going to tell you on this Easter Sunday, as much as it may be not politically correct to say this, but I think we need to tell people how much we appreciate them, how much we love them a lot more often, and stop being afraid of based on interpretation and perspective of what the word love means. All right. It's just like a dance, Flo. That's the way life is. And I'm bringing all of you guys in close. All right. And by the way, I'm also writing the lyrics to the music too. So, Denise, how does this quote land on you?
Hey, good morning. For me, this is a heavy quote because I had to learn, like Dwayne said, boundaries and stuff. So never get too comfortable, not never allow people to get too comfortable thinking what they can expect from you. Because if you keep letting them, they're going to keep doing the same thing. And you have to set your boundaries and what you can tolerate, and because people will take advantage. And for me, with that thing, like people distancing themselves from myself, I do it first. And after that means if they don't come back to my life, they're not my root. They're not supposed to be in my life. So setting boundaries, it makes a big difference because I didn't know what boundaries were. Like I had to, because I was too nice. I would do every time somebody called me, I was there. But when it came to me, they were not there. And it's like I had to start thinking about who are my roots, who are my leaves, like who are the branches in my life. And for that, this quote really said it, like boundaries is the way to go. And feel the energy too. For me, I'm big with energy. If I'm not feeling it, you're not giving it back. It's like it's not even worth my time. So boundaries, that's how this quote landed on me.
All right. And we definitely need to set boundaries. But you also got to think about, I mean, you said two important things in your quote that landed on me, that resonated with me. When you talk about branches and the roots, your root system is your foundation of what makes you who you are, what you believe, what you see, and what you perceive. The branches are the things that, like the seasons, as Dwayne explained it, they come and they go. And sometimes we will take a leaf and we'll mount it on a piece of paper or whatever, and we will frame it because that leaf became something important to us. And then other times we'll take the leaf blower and we'll blow them away. All right. And we're talking about blowing something away. All right. I'm going to say prepare yourself because, this next year, and like I said, Otis, I have to apologize to you because I feel the same thing. When Larnez and Flo and all these other wonderful guests bring something on here, it is hard to follow you guys. I'm going to tell you. All right. I just broke with the IQ of a 3-digit IQ, but you guys are breaking the records when it comes to matters of human intelligence and emotional experience. So, Larnez, how's this quote land on you?
Well, blissful rising to everyone. This quote is one of those truths that hits you in the chest and in the throat. When you have questions and get no answers, I think I want to start there. That's a quiet, that quiet kind of pain, that moment when you're reaching out emotionally, energetically, maybe even physically. When you get back silence, it's the worst indifference, right? You start to wonder, is it me? Did I ask for too much? Am I expecting too much? But no, what's really happening is you're being taught something about the relationship, about yourself. You have to remember that we do teach people how to be close to us. We also teach them distance. Now, that motion, that activity is the gem. This is accountability wrapped in wisdom. Energy is a curriculum. The way we respond or the way we don't respond sets a tone. If we allow silence in a place of clarity, we teach people where we're willing to sit in confusion. If we overextend without reciprocation, we teach them that access to us is free, without commitment, without depth. And listen, I'm not saying blame yourself for someone else's lack of communication, but I am saying your boundaries, your expectations, your energy, their lesson plans, even every interaction is a clash with every individual, regardless if you're even saying hi, right? Because they stopped at your light. Are you teaching people to honor your space, your questions, your hearts, or are you ignoring it? Bottom line, if you're getting distance when you're asking for closeness, it might be time to reevaluate what you've been teaching and start rewriting that syllabus. And that's how this hit me.
All right. All right. So it's come to that time in the show. We're winding down. And as you guys know, if you've been following the show, we always end the show with my interpretation, which technically today, since I brought the quote, I should have been on first, but I exercise my privilege to go last to hear everyone else's quote and allow you guys to hear the quote and not be triggered by anything that I may have said. And if you notice that no matter what someone that gave their interpretation before, there were multiple layers to this quote. And so, Otis, with the voice, if you don't mind, one more time, sharing the quote again to our listeners and let it sit with them for a little bit and give us your interpretation. And then I'll give you the reason why the quote came up to, in my mind, for me.
Absolutely. When you have questions and get no answers, remember, we teach people to be close to us. We also teach them distance. Well, sometimes when you get no answers, maybe they're afraid to give you the truth because the truth could hurt you. Or maybe they're trying to protect themselves. However, when you got a friendship or relationship, they can be close, they can come to an end. And I think of the series I was looking at, Night Agent, where there's an Iranian woman that wants to get her mother and her brother out of Iran. And she works for the Iranian embassy. And she's trying to deal with the US government. And she says, well, what can I do that you can help me? They want to keep her close because she may have information that they may be able to get from her. They get some information. They get an agent to go to Iran to get the mother and the brother out. They finally decide to go. They get on the road. The brother decides he doesn't want to go. Police come up. They have an altercation. One of the agents has to shoot the brother because the brother gets the gun from the policeman. They drive off and trying to get the mother to the United States. There's a call that comes in. And the agent takes a call, realizes that the brother was killed, but he doesn't want to tell this Iranian woman because things could fall apart. So sometimes the truth can really hurt you, and you may not give an answer.
All right. Yeah, that was heavy. That was heavy. And then this quote itself has many layers to it. So, well, let's ask Kevin, how did this quote, what was the origin, the creation of this quote? This morning, some of you guys know that I have returned back to my original roots. I grew up in a neighborhood that in order to get the attention of a young lady, you either had to run fast, jump high, be great at sports, be funny, as most of you women says, oh, the reason why I'm with this homely looking guy, because he makes me laugh. I was never funny. But I grew up singing. I grew up singing in groups, Lakeside, Ohio Players, Zap, all these guys were my neighbors. So I have returned to my roots. So when you say there's questions, There are more questions and no answers. This quote came from the song that I shared with you, guys, this morning, about a heartbreak. I mean, we've all been in situations when we found out that someone's being untrue to you. All right. Then, we try to ask why. All right. And this is where the questions with more questions and than answers came about. They give you the excuses, but never the truth. And then you start looking within yourself. And then you think about that, we've all given advice and says, well, where'd this begin? We've all had the signs or whatever. They were distant from us. They were coming home late or whatever. And so this is where the quote came from. And this is when you listen to the song, Christopher, and I'll share it with the group privately. If you listen to the words of the song, this quote comes in. People come and they go, and sometimes they come into your life and they light up your world. Sometimes people come and they improve you emotionally. Sometimes they improve you mentally, financially, and spiritually. And just their very presence, like you guys, makes me smile. However, there are those that come into your life and they teach you lessons. You show up for a class that you don't want to attend. They disappoint you, they hurt you, they let you down, and they even make you feel bad about yourself, even make you feel bad about life. We're all students of life, and these people make you wiser if you're receptive to it. Prepares you for the next step or the next better thing, the next job, the next person. For those who choose to remain blind, you will never see. For those of you that are prepared to weather the storm will come and the storm will pass. These people that come into your life prepare you for your blessings. So there will always be questions and very few answers. There'll always be those friends who teach us the true value of friendship and what friendship and love really look like. There are those of us that our actions will show you what love feels like and what friendship feels like. And those will always be those people that will bring you the storm. So what this quote does, it teaches me when it rains to go for shelter. It teaches me to table sometimes my emotion. It teaches me to change the conversation. It teaches me when I need a lifeline, I call one of you guys, I call home. And it teaches me sometimes stop caring, stop trusting, stop looking for answers when there's questions, and stop looking to bring someone closer to you when they created distance. And that's the reason why you ask the question, what is this conversation? What is this relationship? What is this job? And what is this life teaching all of us? So this is how the quote landed on me. This is my interpretation. To the group of Motivational Sundays privately, I will share the song with you. Hopefully you guys will put this together and enjoy the lyrics. And that's the nice thing about going back to writing music. I used to put quotes out in the group every single way. But now that I can completely tell the story to a tune and a beat. And so to our listeners, I always want to remind you, to grow, you must make some mistakes. To be confident, you must address your anxieties. To forgive yourself, you must hold yourself accountable. To learn, you must unlearn some stuff. And to exist, you have to show up every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and join the group of Motivational Sundays. Because in order to show up, you got to show up more when you come here with these folks. And I'm telling you. So my grandfather always said, when you get to a place in life that you can help someone else out, he said it's your duty to do so. He said, reach one, teach one, and we do what? And we probably have to unmute in order to do that.
We fade to black, don't we, Christopher?
All right. Matter of fact, we're going to do something different. We're going to let each person do this. I'm going to ask the question to each one. Christopher, my grandpa said we do what?
Fade to black.
Larnez, my grandpa said what?
Fade to black and make sure you come back.
All right. Bringing the storm. Otis, my grandpappy said what?
We fade to black.
DM, My grandpapa said what?
Fade to black.
Miss Chambers, what did my grandfather tell us?
Fade to black.
And Denise. All right.
Fade to black.
All right. And Flo, I'm going to close the show with your words. We what?
Fade to black so we never have lack.
All right. And we're out until next week. Enjoy your Easter. Give someone a hug today. That's all I can say. Much love.